Greetings, Gamereactor Nation, and welcome to what we would like to call a review discussion or a review in progress discussion. As you no doubt already know, Ghost Recon Wildlands releases tomorrow. Today is Monday, March 6th. It releases tomorrow worldwide on all three platforms. And we have had the game, Anders and I, and a couple of other Gamereactor writers within the network. Over the weekend, we got it Friday night. And so we're not quite ready yet to deliver you our final impressions with a score on the actual game. So we thought, what better way to sort of, get a temperature, do a small reading on our impressions so far on the game than by doing this little video thing here. We've done it a couple of times before, but it's relatively new ground for us to tread. There will be a small text component to go alongside this video, but for now, Anders and I have been playing it by ourselves, by our lonesome in the field, but we've also played it together.
Yes, we have.
All the way through closed beta, open beta, and now final retail code. Yeah. So, Anders, what do you think so far? That's the easiest, opening question. What do you think?
And I like it.
Yes.
It's a very, very Ubisoft game. You can almost say it's the most Ubisoft game Ubisoft have ever created.
It is.
And that's both a good thing, but it's also a bad thing in some points. I think already I can feel like I need a little more emphasis on the story. Because there's almost none. It's like we got all these bad people. Yeah,
there's this web of bad guys, and you can't distinct them from one another. It's just one big. You know who El Sueño is, and he's kind of at the top. Yeah. But everyone in between is just it's cannon fodder basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's people who looks bad, and by that logic you just know they are bad. So you just go out and shoot them.
Yeah.
There's really nothing more to it than that, and it's all right, I guess. Ubisoft have never claimed it was a good story-focused game.
No.
It's a multiplayer game. Go in. Scout the area, work together to take out the bad guys, and that they do really well.
I agree. It is in the sense, the ultimate expression of freedom, in that sense that they give you a couple of tools, they give you ability to go in with your friends, and it's basically when you put in the bullet points of what Ghost Recon Wildlands is, it's basically, okay, this is the largest map we've ever created. It is a pretty faithful rendition of what Bolivia is if it was run by a drug cartel. You have your drones, you have your guns, go.
Yeah.
And basically just do that. But I think it's an important point you make at the offset, is that this is a very Ubisoft game, and it's kind of funny because just months back, we got Watch Dogs 2, which seems to be a very sort of progressive step for them to move away from the traditional Ubisoft formula and actually offer a little bit less but more meaningful content, I feel like there was. So this is just in some points and in other points not, but this seems like regressive therapy is that this is back to what Ubisoft has been criticized for, which is basically, the dotted map with towers and... what also happened in Assassin's Creed games is it offer you a lot of content, but not as much meaningful content.
Exactly.
And I think that is the case here, and both good and bad, is the same as you said. One thing that I do want to mention here is that to me, and we should also make this pretty clear, I'm slightly more positive about the game than you are. We like it, both of us. I like it a little bit more than you, but we're in the same ballpark, where we are. But what I like of it is, I feel like Bolivia is despite its size, is a very carefully constructed play space where there's just enough distance between points that makes it seem believable, but not enough to discourage you from going out into the world. So, for instance, starting out, getting into a car with a buddy of yours or the 3 AI people you can get if you don't have a real friend to play with.
So tough.
Yeah. I think it's always a blast to go from the core gameplay loop, from spawning in a location, going to a base, parking in some foliage, using your drone to scout out a base, and then carefully taking it down strategically, mathematically. Yeah. I think that loop is very solid. But of course, the minus stuff comes in what goes on around this core loop.
You said it yourself, like Watch Dogs 2 was almost a step away from the Ubisoft formula. It was still there, but there was a little more creativity to it, in my opinion, where a lot of the side mission was actually pretty clever. Like when you had to hack Ubisoft to see an unreleased trailer from the next game. I feel like I missed some of that creativity and that, have a little bit more fun right now. And again, I like the game, just want to stress that. But it's like we got all these points on the map, and it's like when you clean your room, you need to do this, you need to do this. So we just like methodically take like
it's the checklist mentality.
Exactly, and there's really not that much more to it.
No, it's very simple.
Exactly, and I need that a little bit extra just to keep me I wanted maybe give the bad guys a motivation to do what they do instead of just being bad, because then I would like to get to know them, or I don't know. It's like you said, they are cannon fodder, and that's that's it.
It's kind of like, it's a very player-driven game in that sense that if you and your friends have to create the motivation to proceed, because there's nothing. The funny thing is that, like, it's not that I like the side mission content in a way, but the main problem with it, in my opinion, is that it's very static. There's nothing dynamically that happens. For instance, in Watch Dogs, you hack this guy. That pings a side mission which has several steps where you break into a house, you do a race, like it has several sort of key steps that make it varied. However, the side mission content here is basically, if you do something for the rebels, that's taking this chopper and landing it here, and it's that way from the start to the finish.
Yes.
And then you have collectibles.
Yeah.
That is basically the nature of the content that Ghost Recon Wildlands gives you, and that is both. The funny thing is here, and that's kind of the double-sided nature of it, is that it's both very risky because you put every responsibility on the player. You have to create the fun.
Yeah.
We have created the means for you to have fun, but you have to create that fun. But it's also beyond being risky. It's also very Ubisoft.
It is.
In a good and in a good and a bad way. So I'm kind of.
I feel like at this point you already know if you like these points of game or if you don't. If you have a good time with all the other Ubisoft games that we have had in the past, Far Cry, Assassin's Creed,
Watch Dogs. The first Watch Dogs primarily.
Exactly. But also in the second one, there was this collectible mentality that there are in a lot of Ubisoft games. And if you like that, then you will definitely like Ghost Recon. And I want to stress to Ubisoft. Ubisoft are good at making multiplayer games, but they are also fun for people like me who prefer to play it by myself. It is fun to play this with friends, probably more so than playing alone. But it's also good to play alone with your 3 AI components.
I actually really like it by myself.
So if you are worried that you don't have friends to play with, I would say it's definitely fun to play it by yourself.
The reason I think I like it, and I like it more than I thought I would, is because that the nature of the content delivery fits my way of playing very well. Because if you don't do narrative really well, then I don't feel like you should do it at all, in a way. Because, like, my problem is that it's usually, if a narrative doesn't grip me, the only thing it can do is get in the way. So the way I like this is that I can almost, and this is almost because of course there's sounds and you have to strategically listen to, but I can almost mute the thing and watch a TV show. It's a very relaxing experience to me because I have this playground, which is very beautiful, and I can just drive to the points and feel the good core gameplay loop, and it's just, the repetition of it really actually doesn't get to me as much as it maybe would. I've sort of, made my peace with it. This is a very particular formula, and if you don't like it, it's going to annoy the crap out of you. But if you like the way it relaxes you, and it gives you these tools, have fun, but it doesn't, it's almost.
I'm at the drop zone.
Not sure Ubisoft is gonna like this, but it's almost casual.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's
with
almost
that.
a casual tactical shooter. It's just that it doesn't ask. I don't think it asks too much of you because you use your drone to tag your enemies, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, the story never gets in your way. Like when you defeat the first boss, then the next there's a little video that pops up in the left corner, and you don't have to watch that. Ubisoft or the game is like, do you want to watch this to help move the story along, or are you like, I don't care. So Ubisoft know what kind of game this is, and they have made a game where the story is really not that important.
Yeah.
And you can dive a little more into it. There are some collectibles that
Drone is
you can
airborne.
Expand, like
exactly.
voice, voice recordings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In one way, actually, now that you mention it, this is also the good thing about review discussions is that you sort of find out also what you think. It has learned one key thing from Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is that if you provide the foundations of a narrative,
PC over here.
players who want that narrative will seek it. But if it doesn't intervene, then players who don't give a shit about it and maybe very quickly say, okay, this doesn't look like it's going to interest me.
No.
I'm going to put it aside and focus on playing it.
Basically, it's a pretty good way to tell a story in an open world game, because for people who the story doesn't bother them that much, it doesn't get in their way.
No.
For me, I would have liked a more emphasis on the story.
I would have liked that as well, yeah. It would have made sense.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's actually the same thing as Just Cause 3, very much so, which is also about, providing a big toolbox, a big open world to explore and blow up. But the thing is, I don't mind the story delivery method.
No.
But I think if I chose to focus on the story, then it should be better.
Yeah.
Because if I was the kind of player who really sought that, then there's no reason it couldn't be better than it is.
No.
That's the thing, and it's also very much the case with The Division, a game which Ghost Recon Wildlands shares a lot of mechanical DNA with, is that I feel like then if you wanted to play the story and you wanted to focus on The Division, the story is coherent, it works. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and pretty memorable characters along the way. So if you were the player who went into The Division and said, I want to focus on the story, then it would make sense to you. But in Ghost Recon Wildlands, if you think, I really want to get into this, who is Karen Bowman? Who is, all of these characters that you meet, it's all forgettable, and it does. I don't think there's any excuse of not creating an interesting narrative in this case.
No.
Why not? Like it should be pretty easy for them because they've pretty much done it a couple of times.
Yeah.
Watch Dogs 2 does it as well. I agree with you. You reviewed Watch Dogs 2 and said, it doesn't tie up in a meaningful way.
No,
but I do think that it works. A lot of the way it actually works. Despite the fact that it's more laid back, it actually works really well.
To that point, a great character in the game is the country itself.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it works so well.
Really varied. Forest and almost like deserty.
Yeah, and mountains and large lakes, and actually, the main thing, and also I think a lot of people are going in with like prejudices about this, is that Ubisoft, and it's also the worst way they could possibly market this, is it's the biggest map we've ever created. But players don't want size. Players want something, a meaningful place to be. But Bolivia is an amazing open world, I feel like. And like if you, for example, if you holster your weapons and you arrive in a small town, actually, despite its size, actually just going down the street and watching people go to market and stuff like that, it's a pretty, I think, impressive and convincing place to be with obvious restraints.
I have a side note, if you like the Netflix series Narcos, it's hard not to draw parallels to that and feel like you're one of the top teams from that series.
Yeah.
And I kinda think in those lines and think about this is me in the series. Putting the narrative over the game.
got more
It works
tangos
pretty
rolling
well.
It's very timely in that regard.
Exactly. And another side note, the guy on the radio is super annoying.
Oh, right, yeah, that's really...
Yeah, I feel like this is Ubisoft trying to make like not Watch Dogs, Fallout, Mad Dog.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
It doesn't work.
I can't remember, but he's kind of like Santa Blanca's official voice.
Yeah.
He sort of creates sort of a TMC,
That's gotta be the warden's office. If there are any
social
prisoner records,
media,
they'll be in
young
there.
with the young,
Need to get
but in a
inside and see what we can
cartel
find.
sort of
He's
way.
spouting this propaganda.
Oh yeah, it sucks. Yeah. But I think it's at least nice that they try creating a radio station to listen to when you're driving those. But the thing is, I'm a SWAT team. I don't listen to the radio. I am going to, like, we're military people who kill thousands of people, taking down a terror regime.
Yeah.
I don't want to listen to music. Like. But you know, at least to some people, it makes a lot of sense.
I just want to stress the point that the rest of what's on the radio is actually pretty good. And actually,
Sniper, down.
Very fitting for the content.
Yeah.
The music also, again, a little bit the Narcos feel to the soundtrack.
Yeah.
But then this radio guy keeps interrupting.
Frag out.
It's channel or something.
Yeah, you can't. No, you can't. You're forced to that one.
Propaganda channel, and that's annoying.
Yeah. So, to go alongside this little sort of, tidbit of what we actually think of the game, we're going to have tons of gameplay up at Embargo of me and Anders playing Ghost Recon Wildlands. There's going to be a full review at some point, and of course there will be more sort of discussions of the game in the future. As you might know, when we do Ubisoft titles here on Gamereactor, we rarely put them down again. For Honor, we still have that up and about. Rainbow Six Siege, The Division, now Wildlands. These cooperative experiences works really well for a place like this one, where we have several people that are very interested in, carrying on with their saves, their characters get invested in all that sort of stuff. So there's going to be tons of great content based on Ghost Recon Wildlands coming up here on Gamereactor. To summarize very quickly, I think we both like the game.
Yeah.
It has obvious problems, but most of all, what you need to decide before making your decision on whether to invest or not is that, do you like this sort of game? Do you look at the typical Ubisoft formula and think, I like the collectathon, I like the dotted map filled with a varied array of activities that might not make much sense individually, but together can sort of create content, or a large amount of content. If you like that, then this is like this couldn't get any better. But if you want more, like if you're seeking something else, I think you're going to be more disappointed than when you picked up Watch Dogs 2.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said.
Yeah. So there's a small tidbit of information for you there. Please stay tuned for Gamereactor for more Ghost Recon Wildlands content in the future. Thank you so much for joining me, Anders. Catch you all out there.
Bye-bye.